Hi, it's Jeff Chalmers here from discoverdoublebase.com, which is the home of online learning for double bass players. We produce a series of courses, interviews, gear reviews, all designed to help you move your playing forward. Now, we're in the middle of a global pandemic and many of us are not able to connect with each other in the way that we would like to. But we wanted to bring you something a bit different whilst this is all going on. So we've reached out to many of the legends of the bass world and asked them a series of questions. And we're going to be presenting their answers in this collection of videos. So let's get started with today's question. Many of us are spending more time at home with our instruments. What are you practicing right now?
How you guys doing? It's John Patitucci, and I'm here to welcome you all to Discover the Double Bass. And this particular installment of Discover the Double Bass involves 5 questions that a bunch of us are endeavoring to answer. So, with this time of quarantine, we're by ourselves, and what are we practicing? What do we work on? There's an interesting, I mean, we could talk a lot about trying to develop your ears, your rhythm, and trying to make some music, putting it in the context of a piece of music. So for me, you know, last year I did a solo bass record called Soul of the Bass. And I went out and did concerts, and one of the pieces that I worked up that I was practicing, and I'm actually practicing again because I'm going to do some online solo bass little stream things for, you know, I've done one already to raise some money for the New York musicians, and I'm doing another couple of things coming up. So, Whisper Not, great tune by the great Benny Golson. So, this is a great way to practice your time, your phrasing of melodies, your 2-beat, your walking, and your improvising, and your ear training, because you have to have the sounds of the chords of the piece in your head and play off of them. So I can't break down all these things for you right now, but I'll just show you what I mean. Whisper Not. So that causes me to have to work on my 2-beat by walking. I would listen to myself back and see if it felt good the whole way through, or did I lean too far out of the pocket? Was I making it feel like the pulse was sitting down and grooving the whole way? All these things, and I would be very tough on myself, as I will be when I listen back to this. So, number 2, that's just one thing I'm practicing. Really practicing a lot of things. I also have to practice the electric bass, my groove playing, my ability to hold on to a groove. For that, I would say, and on acoustic bass too, play an ostinato without any fills for like 10 minutes and let it, it's like a hypnotic thing. The more you play it, the deeper the groove gets. And if you can have that kind of focus, you'll be a better bass player, because that's our job, is to create that great feeling and then that pocket and groove when we're playing. The bass is a rhythm instrument too, you know, it's not just about notes. So that's some of the stuff I'm practicing. I'm also practicing longbow for classical stuff, and the Neil Tarleton wrote a book on the Sevchik Opus 2, which is this violin, all these violin variations of bowing over like a small etude, you know, a short etude, but then there's 75 bowing variations. That'll keep me busy through quarantine.
Hi, my name is John Clayton. Thanks for spending some time with me. I'm happy to be with you. And I've been asked what I'm practicing right now. You know, it's kind of a mixture of things. I know that I'm revisiting things that I've done in the past. So I made myself, years ago, a kind of a practice tape of recordings that I love, tracks that I love, with different bass players on it. So I've got, if you know me, you know I'm going to have some Ray Brown on there. But I've also got Israel Crosby, Paul Chambers, let's see, I've got Ron Carter, Scott LaFaro, people like that, you know, and a range. I mix it up. And I'll just turn those on. Some of the bass lines I've transcribed, and I'll play those transcriptions. Other times I'm just jamming to a groove and some songs that I like, playing my own bass lines, probably influenced by the bass lines of the bass player on the original track. But yeah, so I do that. And I find myself going back to things like long tones and just playing really often enough and long enough so that if I hear imperfections or things that I want to focus on, you know, one time I'm practicing in the mirror and I'm focusing on just keeping the bow, you know, looking straight ahead and keeping the bow parallel to the bridge, or I might focus on making sure that I don't have a change of sound, of quality of sound when I change direction with the bow. So it sounds like that down bow, and it sounds like that, or up bow and it sounds like that down bow. And then I'll think about, you know, arm weight, bow placement, bow speed, and just kind of do that with open strings. And I'll take out some pieces I love playing that I haven't played in a long time. Jazz or classical, doesn't matter. But you know, for the faster tempo things, I'll take them ridiculously slowly. Like the other day, I just thought, God, I haven't played the Eccles in forever, right? People don't play the Eccles as often, it seems. And that's cool, whatever, we move on. But that's one of the first pieces that I fell in love with. And so I dusted it off, but the last movement, to practice it, I practiced it this way. that's slow. And I just kept doing that over and over again. And each time I would do it, I could focus on different things. My tone quality, my attack, position of the bow, body language, am I comfortable, all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, eventually bring it up to tempo and play it faster. Yeah, so I kind of do that. I'm also looking at some of the Rabath books that I often have my students play out of. I just take some of those beautiful etudes and play them. It's such great music. And so I think the thing that's really important for me in terms of no matter what I practice, it's got to be fun. If I'm not having fun, I kind of don't do it. Because I've spent a lot of time working on all the other things that we need to have, you know, familiarizing ourselves with the instrument so that we can have more fun. So it's fun the whole time, but the more you kind of get under your fingers, the more fun it is.
That's me. Chet Baker, Jackie Jeanette, Kenny Barron. I'm stuck in New York. I'm not sure where they are, but they're stuck somewhere too. Here we go. I'm having a difficult time organizing my thoughts. I'm not sure how to schedule my practice time. Right now I'm happy to practice 6 minutes a day, and that's good for me.
That's a passage from a piece now called Bass Intentions. Miles Black, my pianist, musician friend from Vancouver, BC, wrote this piece, and we kind of worked on it together, and I never played that part of it. And it's a pain in the neck in this particular part of the instrument, and I'm not playing much now, so if I want to play that piece, I better practice that every day, and I haven't done it because I'm writing music all the time. I think Rufus Reid and I both got pulled into trying to do more than we could do on the bass by getting interested in writing, and for decades I've been a composer, arranger who spends time every day at that and picks up the bass when there's a reason to play. And unfortunately, there are not that many reasons to play all the time. I've never been a bass player who's been attracted to playing the bass alone. It's the bass as an ensemble instrument that got me, that's what got me interested in the bass, wanting to play with other people and being in the bass player's role. So I practice the bass by thinking about what the bass player will do in my compositions.
close. Hey, this is Brian Bromberg. How are you? Pleasure to be here with you all, and our love of the upright bass. I've got some questions to answer, which I think it's very cool. I've been checking out some of the other videos, and they're great, and all the players are just amazing. And it's just really cool to hear what people have to say and see that we're all cut from the same cloth. We all went different directions, but we still have our roots in the same place as bass players, and it's pretty awesome. First question, many of us are currently spending more time at home with our instruments. What are you practicing right now? Well, that's because of the coronavirus and quarantine. And for me, it's like being blessed with a curse. I'm actually delivering 2 CDs to the record company, and I've literally spent the past 2 months sitting in front of Pro Tools on a computer, for 10, 15 hours a day on the computer. I really haven't been playing my bass that much, which is really awful, actually. I hate to admit it, but when you're a producer, you're producing the music. Music's music, and playing bass is only one part of it. So most of my time is spent producing everybody else and doing all the editing, and I'm very hands-on, so I'm very involved in the whole production, everything. My hands are in it, and I love doing that. It's just I haven't got a chance to play my bass as much because after I've been working on the computer for 10 or 15 hours, and we have a lot of animals, we have horses, we have dogs and stuff, and after taking care of everybody, the last thing in the world I want to do is play my bass, actually. I want to just completely unwind and get away from music. But with that said, it's the key. I think the key to being a great bass player, a good bass player, a mediocre bass player, it doesn't matter. It's about having fun. It's about enjoying playing the instrument. It doesn't matter what level you achieve. It doesn't matter how famous you are, what success or anything. It's really not about that. None of us got into playing bass, and certainly not playing jazz and trying to play at the highest level, thinking that, oh man, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be whatever. It's like, that was the furthest thing on my mind. All I wanted to do was play my bass and play jazz. You can't lock yourself up in a room and practice 5 to 8 hours a day for half your life if you have anything else in your mind except just to be the best bass player you can be and play the best music you can play. That's the main thing. So for me, when you think about all this time practicing, it's like focusing on things that are really, really important. What's important to bass players? Your time, your feel, chord changes. If you play acoustic bass, which we all do, I would imagine, intonation, getting around the instrument, all these different things that really define who we are and what we are as bass players. So in practicing, I focus on all of that. Whether I practice for 15 minutes or 2 hours, I play and I think about all these different things when I play. I think about intonation. Not, but. Your fingers have to go to the right place. The only way you can do that is repetitive motion, doing it over and over and over again so your fingers know where to go. When you hear it, your fingers know where to go. I've been fortunate. I've basically had the same bass since I was 16 years old. I've played this bass my whole life. Oddly enough, we just changed bridges because I'm working with BSX basses on, this is another question down the line, but I'll just answer it now, on a new bridge pickup system for the upright, which we've been working on for a while, and it's really phenomenal. I think it's kind of game-changing, actually. But the bridge is in a slightly different place because I just had it put on, so my intonation's a little bit out because my string length is a touch different. But intonation is vitally important if you're a bass player and you're playing upright. So I spent a lot of time playing notes against open strings to make sure that's not right, that's not right, that's right. So always play against open strings. So you can hear when you're in tune and when you're out of tune. Things like that, those kind of exercises, that kind of practicing. Really making sure that my fingers go to the right place to play in tune. Play to a metronome or a click track, whatever you guys do. Make sure your time is right if you're going to walk. Make sure every note counts. Quarter note is your everything, you know? So spend time, you know, actually I was checking out John Patitucci's and he's brilliant, and it's funny because he and I are very similar in certain ways, and we're very old school and kind of modern at the same time. But it's really important. Like, I'd take a tune, any standard, any tune, and I would literally play it like I'm playing with a band. I'll play it in 2, and then I'll get busier, and then I'll walk, and then I'll blow on it, and then I'll walk, and then I'll blow on it. I mean, I would practice like I'm actually performing it, you know? So that's something that's really cool to do, is just take a tune and just, you know, pretend like you're playing behind the melody. Then walk. And just kind of go back and forth between playing in 2, playing in 4, keeping the time, keeping the focus, thinking about your pitch, thinking about your note choices, things like that. And then blow, you know, like play a chorus in 2, play a chorus in 4, and then take a bass solo, and just cycle back and forth. So it's always something different, but it's the glue of what we do as bass players. So those are the things that I practice. I write a lot, so, and I'm in the midst of recording several CDs, so a lot of times when I practice, I'm actually working out my music, or working on my songs, or playing, you know, trying to figure out what's what. So a lot of my practice is actually playing the songs that I write. A lot of times I'll write music on the bass. A lot of times I'll write music with no instrument and just write it in my head, and then I have to figure out how to play it, you know? Or, wow, I wrote it in a weird key, but it sounds right in that key, so I got to learn how to play it in that key, things like that. So a lot of my practice actually has to do with composition and where I'm at and what I'm doing at the time, because when I jump into a project, I'm in that project, and then I'll jump into something else, and I'm in something else. So it's different vibes on the instrument. So just try to make it interesting for yourself so you don't get bored. Try to make it fun, but understand that as bass players, your job, chord changes, voice leading, time, feel, sound, tone, intonation, groove, all these things, these are the things that you got to think about when you're practicing. And if you do that and focus on that, you'll find yourself getting better all the time and stronger, and really nailing down what you're supposed to be doing. I look at it this way: you can't build a building from the 14th floor. You got to have a foundation, and then you can build the tallest building in the world. We are the foundation of the music. We are the rhythmical foundation and the melodic foundation at the same time. So that's it. Nail that, work on that, and you'll find that you'll get stronger, and your playing will get better, and you'll enjoy playing the music more because you feel like you're really contributing to it and doing what the instrument is. What the role of the instrument is.
Something that I've been working on during this pandemic is messing around with the French bow and trying to play some Patitucci, very hard stuff on the instrument, and just trying to get familiarized with some of the harmonics and stuff. So this is what it would sound like. It's not polished, but you get a sense of the practice and the urgency of trying to figure out the harmonics and stuff like that. Another thing that I'm working on is endurance, because during this time off, we don't spend much time actually playing 30, 40 choruses. So what I like to do is I like to just take each string, I mute it with my left hand, and I just do this. And what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to keep these hands strong enough so that when the time opens up and we all get back together, which is hopefully very soon, we'll be able to be strong enough to play. And you know, I have a concept of pulling the strings out. Some of you might know that, who know me, that I like to kind of bring the strings out a little bit. So that's my concept. I've been doing that. And I just try to perform as much as I can in that scenario and doing practice too. So I hope that, you know, gave some information there and helped you guys out.
Hi everybody. It's my pleasure to be able to talk with you today about music and bass and practicing and finding inspiration during these difficult times. For me, practicing lately has been a beautiful place of respite and quiet and solitude and slowing down what can be hectic days. So I'm really appreciating my time alone with the bass each day. So what have I been practicing? I think for the last few weeks, few months, I've been continuing to practice a lot of classical music, jazz music, other styles of music, and finding the connections between all these musics for the bass. Specifically, in the last week, I've been practicing the courant of the third cello suite in C major, which is normally played at a moderate courant tempo, but I've been playing it quite slow, around 44 beats per minute, to really appreciate the beauty of the harmony and the melody of Bach's writing, and to give me a chance to connect with the instrument first off in the day. I've also been continuing to look deeper into the fingerboard, and I'm always talking about really getting comfortable with the entire fingerboard, and you know, and for the sake of going deeper in that, for me, I'm finding that up high, quite high on the fingerboard, is still not comfortable for me. So I've been taking certain pieces of classical music that really push my technique in that. Those include Fauré's Elegy, where there's some quite high parts that are a challenge for me to practice. And then also going back and looking at Brahms's cello sonata in E minor, which I used to play quite a few years ago. Sometimes with Brad Meldau, we would practice it on the road. And when I took it up again last week, I realized, well, a lot of it does sound better, but there is a trio section of the second movement that is quite high, and it really didn't sound any better than I had played it maybe 25 years ago. So that is a great signal for me to you know, to go back and practice it and see if I can get more comfortable up in that register of the bass. So it's great to play beautiful music by Brahms and Fauré and Bach, and to be inspired by that, and to be learning and pushing my limits on the instrument. In the jazz part of my practice, typically I'm reacting to the gigs I have and trying to use those to show me what I need to practice at home. And so without those, I have had to be a little bit more creative, I think, in finding what things to practice. I've been enjoying going into certain composers and learning more of their music, in particular Joe Henderson, learning more of his songs, melodies and harmonies, and getting those together on the bass, playing them in time by myself, over time, getting comfortable with the controlling the rhythm, the harmony, the melody, having it show and feel good. I also, in the last few days, have been picking one song. It was Bobby Timmons's Dat Dare, and exploring different recorded versions of that. It's a really interesting tune to me because the harmony kind of swings by itself. So it's a great piece to work on bass. I found 3 different versions that I really have enjoyed over the years. One is a version by Bobby Timmons with Sam Jones, one with Ron Carter and Bobby Timmons live at the Village Vanguard, and another great version of Buster Williams playing it with Mary Lou Williams. So between those 3, I've been just seeing how they interpret the song, how their bass lines are constructed, how the rhythm feels, and the particular nuances of each version. So that's been really fun to pick a tune and go deep into it, recorded wise, and then for me to play it and to make it feel as good as possible by myself, and to have the clarity of the information be all there by myself.
So now that we're spending a lot more time at home, most of my practice is dedicated for the moment to the fundamentals of sound, of time and technique. A lot of the time when we're on the road a lot or just gigging a lot or just generally busy, it's harder to step back and reassess some of these finer details. So I've been enjoying just sort of slowing things down and just reassessing things, particularly in terms of technique, my right hand technique, right hand pits and arco, and just noticing any unnecessary tension and just trying to release that. Yeah, so that's been really great. I also really love Oren O'Brien's double bass notebook. There's so many great exercises in there and so much great information for bass players of all levels. And some really great excerpts from Fred Zimmerman's Concepts of Bowing as well. I've also been doing a lot of playing at home with my husband, who's a pianist, Fabian Almazan. So we've been doing a lot of home videos and live streams. And it's been really fun experimenting and getting into the tech side of things a lot more. You know, meaning getting into more home recording and experimenting with different sounds and how we record. At the moment I have a AKG 414 that I use primarily for the upright bass. And we have these Sennheiser MKH 8040s as well that we've been experimenting with mic placement, and it's really great to sort of reassess your own sound and what you want from your recorded sound when you get to know those tech aspects. And I think that's important during these times, particularly now that we're doing a lot of home recording and remote collaborations with people. I'm also very lucky to be starting some private lessons soon. This is part of an award given to me by the fantastic Jazz Gallery here in New York City. It's called the Margaret Whitten Award, and I get to study with some musicians that I've always wanted to study with. I'll be studying with Maria Schneider, wonderful composer and arranger, as well as Cuban percussionist Roman Diaz, who's a complete legend. So we also have some bata drums here at home, and my husband and I have been learning a lot of rhythms, fundamental rhythms, and that's been really great. It's really invigorating and a great challenge. I also took a lesson with Mr. Ron Carter a couple of weeks ago, and he has me working on some slammer etudes. So yeah, I'm keeping busy, and you know, unfortunately it's during these circumstances, but you know, we have to just be positive and take this time and use it wisely, you know. So it's been good to kind of spend more time on some of these aspects of music making.
Hello, my name is Rufus Reid. Yes, we're living at a very crazy time in our lives now all over the world, but we have to take the day at a time. And what I've been doing with my days, every morning I've been getting up and going straight to the bass. And I've been working for a couple hours every day. The morning time is best for me. So I've been working primarily with the bass and the bow, which I don't use 100% of the time when I play, because I'm a jazz player and I'm usually pizzicato. And but I have studied, and I know the importance of being able to get a good sound. So I've been doing long tones. I mean really long tones. And then the vomits exercises, that has really been incredibly beneficial to really just develop a good sound with the left hand particularly. Been working on the Bach cello suites, the first one, and a couple of bars at a time, taking it very slow until you get it, because if you can't play it slow, you can't play it. So that's been part of what I've been doing. And I wrote a composition called Caress the Thought, and it was particularly written for a good friend of mine and virtuoso bassist, Diana Gannett, and she performed it at one of the International Society Bassist conventions. And if you Google Diana Gannett, Gannett, and slash Caress the Thought, it should come up with the concert that she did. I wrote a orchestra accompaniment to that piece, and I've been working on the solo myself, and hopefully eventually one day maybe I'll get a chance to play it. Certainly not be able to play it as well as she, but these are the things that I've been working on, and of course it's a slow process, but I'm not in a hurry, and it's actually pretty wonderful to have the time, to take the time, because we have the time. It's amazing what happens when you practice.
Hey everybody, this is Robert Hurst, and I just want to talk a little bit about what I've been working on over the quarantine. And generally what I work on, I mean, one thing that I work on all the time is long tones. So that's generally what I start with when I pick up the bass first thing in the morning. And two bowls per note, and try to get a consistent tone, try to get the bass to vibrate in a certain way. And I think it warms you up, but it also warms the instrument up. And I know, like, generally after I do this, the instrument kind of feels better, and it warms up to me, and I warm up to the instrument, and it's a beautiful thing. So just long tones. Try to work in the tempo. And I feel it's very slow, but it's actually more strenuous than playing fast. And you engage all your muscles for a longer period of time. If you're just playing pizzicato, sorry about the timing, but the note is just going to die, and then you got to go to the next note. But you are able to sustain the note and get the maximum benefit of producing a good tone like this. So I do this sometimes in a key, and I go all the way up and play every note on the bass. We'll just pretend like I played every note beautifully in tune, which I know I would have anyway. But from there, I go on to, like, the next step, just actually playing music and trying to play something beautiful and kind of rubato and slow. So I'll just play something in C minor and try to still, not move too fast. Make it really compositional, and I'm practicing the essence of my composition, the essence of my playing thematic material along with tone and all of those other things. One other, and then moving on from there, as I feel more warmed up and ready to move on without injuring myself, something in tempo. So I'll just play like something medium tempo swing. Still, I'm in C minor, so something in C minor, just slow. Not really thinking about necessarily a tune at this point, but just playing this tempo. just something like that to get playing in time and being accurate with the bow and getting my tone and just building on the long tones and everything else. And then something I just started doing kind of within the last week for rhythmic exercises, sampling things from the internet. So I'll find some African drummers and I'll find like a loop and try to get a loop and I'll sample that and practice along with it. For me, that's more, it's more of an organic feeling than actually practicing with a metronome. So I'll take this, I found this yesterday on some kind of compilation, African compilation. So yeah, I'll take that and just solo over it. Play in that groove, pizzicato. So yeah, those are a few of the things I work on, along with playing repertoire, playing jazz tunes, playing some classical repertoire. Yeah, and that's how I keep trying to keep alert, trying to keep my wits about me, and trying to keep my musicality intact before we go out and reorganize the world. So yeah, do that kind of stuff. Practice your creativity, and I think that's just as important as your technique. So thank you very much. Everybody be safe.
So what do you think? I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. It's been so fascinating to look into the world of these jazz bass heroes, and of course we need to thank them for sharing so much. If you have enjoyed it, you can let us know by clicking like and also by leaving a comment. Practice hard. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.